Timms.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I'm very pleased to follow the Honourable Member for Thirsk Holt, and I welcome his collaboration with my right honourable friend, the Member for Barking. And they both made very powerful arguments in opening this debate this afternoon. I wanted just to focus on one specific point. I mentioned in my intervention on my right honourable friend the Work and Pensions Select Committee inquiry on pension scams, which reported a little while ago. And this, of course, is an important specific area of economic crime. And our report highlighted in particular the menace of online scams. The Honourable Member for Thirsk and Malton has just mentioned this. And I want to just speak quite briefly this afternoon on this specific topic, because there is, as he's said, in the Online Safety Bill, a unique opportunity to address this menace. The Prime Minister has said that tackling online fraud is one of the bill's main aims, and yet the current bill, the current version of the bill that's being scrutinised in pre-legislative scrutiny at the moment, leaves out the major part of the problem. That must be changed, and I want to make that case this afternoon. The campaigner, Mark Tabor, gave evidence to our inquiry. He found the compareukbonds.co.uk fake comparison site on Google and reported it to Google in May of last year. An elderly woman who'd recently been bereaved contacted him after losing over £200,000 to that scam site on Google in September. He reported it in May, she came across it in September, lost £200,000. Google finally took it down in December. Now, people think if they find something on Google, then somebody must have vetted it. But, of course, they haven't. Google gets paid by scammers and then also gets paid by regulators to warn about the scammers you find on Google. It's a pretty good business. I've got no idea why Google didn't take that scam down in May. Was it because they were disorganised? Was it because they wanted to keep the advertising income coming in? Google won't say, and I don't imagine we will ever know. But what it shows us is that the law must be changed. If it isn't changed, crooks will continue to ruin the lives of thousands by advertising scams online. That would be an unforgivable failure of government. Last year, the Pension Scams Industry Group estimated that £10 billion has been lost to pension scams by 40,000 people since the pension freedoms were introduced by George Osborne in 2015. I welcome some recent changes which have been made to help with this. The new Pension Schemes Act will restrict the statutory right to transfer, which was given in the pension freedoms where there are signs of a scam, and the High Court recently ruled that the Fraud Compensation Fund can be used to compensate pension liberation scam victims. Those are both welcome steps. But we need to do more, and in particular, we must tackle this menace of online scams. The insurer Aviva told the Select Committee that in the 6 months before it gave us its evidence, it had found 27 scam websites purporting to be Aviva. And having found them, it takes quite a lot of effort to get them down, and there are always victims before the sites are removed. In the Online Safety Bill, the government is tackling, and the Honourable Member for Thirsk and Malton touched on this, the government is tackling user-generated scams, but not paid-for scam adverts. That's what needs to be changed, because it's the scam adverts which are the heart of the problem. And that isn't just the view of the Select Committee, it's the view of the Treasury Select Committee as well, but it is the view of almost everybody outside Whitehall, and except for the internet companies who's looked at it. The Governor of the Bank of England told the Treasury Committee that the risk to consumers from online fraud, quote, could be tackled through the online harms legislation. But the experience so far is that there is a strong resistance in other parts of the official sector to extending the legislation to financial services. This is a serious problem, end quote. And he's absolutely right, it is a serious problem. The City of London Police wrote to the Select Committee in May that exclusion of advertisements and cloned websites from the Online Safety Bill, quote, leaves a gap in the protection provided for the public. And they went on to call for, this is the City of London Police, went on to call for legislation requiring a duty to protect and/or corporate criminal liability for failure to prevent across all online and telecommunications enablers. The Financial Conduct Authority told us in evidence to the committee, quote, financial harms should be included in the Online Safety Bill to ensure that online platform operators take responsibility for the material which they disseminate, which could cause consumers financial harm. They're absolutely right as well. Now, the Prime Minister said at the Liaison Committee in July, I quote, one of the key objectives of the Online Safety Bill is to tackle online fraud. I welcome and applaud that pledge. And yet, as it stands, the bill entirely misses the major problem of online fraud, which is paid-for advertising. The money-saving expert Martin Lewis, Sir Richard Branson and Dawn French have all had their names or images used in online scams. They all wrote to the Prime Minister last month calling for the bill to tackle scams, the Online Safety Bill to tackle scams, and pointing out that the current bill will penalise somebody who posts a scam, but not someone who pays to post the same scam. They go on, and I quote, government has said it wants to eventually tackle scam adverts through changing advertising regulation, but this will have to go through a lengthy process of legislating in the face of fierce opposition from a powerful advertising industry. And that's a reference to there is work, we understand, going on somewhere, I think in the Department for Culture, Media and Sport, on a much longer timetable to address the problem of scam advertising. But it will, if that is the track we go down, it will be years before anything changes, and thousands more people will have lost their life savings in the meantime. I'll gladly give way to him. Yeah.
Very grateful. A really interesting quote that. Who is the powerful advertising industry? Because I can say the only people that are actually benefiting from these scams being posted in the paid ads section of Google, for example, is Google, not the advertising industry.
Well, the Honourable Gentleman raises a very interesting point. I mean, I know that ministers have been looking at this, and as I understand it, there is now a very complex infrastructure around advertising, which Google is at the end of the chain, but there's all sorts of agencies and intermediaries and an industry in the middle. And I imagine what that letter is referring to is that all of those people would say, no, don't touch this because it's working very well, which for them it is, but I'm afraid for the public it definitely is not. If we do wait in that way, it will let crooks and scammers continue to ruin people's lives for years to come. I think that would really be a catastrophic failure of government. So my plea, Madam Deputy Speaker, is for ministers to change course now, to face up to the undoubted technical challenges, which there are, and legislate in the current bill. I finally just want to agree with a point my right honourable friend made in opening this debate, that this is an existential threat to the UK economy. A big part of our economy is accounted for by financial services. We've got a worldwide reputation and a great deal of expertise, and very high quality services are provided. If people conclude they can no longer trust it because fraud is being allowed to run rife, that is a massive threat, not just to the industry concerned, but to our entire economy. We really do need to address this, to face it head on, make the kind of changes that my right honourable friend, the honourable member for Thirsk and Malton, have been arguing for, in order not just to protect the customers of these services, but protect the entire economy.